it's a test mission, and they feel like a bunch of kids going on a mission. And of course, they're professional soldiers and sailors. And then, of course, this test mission goes terrifically wrong. Not terrifically, horribly wrong.
We wanted to make a portrait that represented all the soldiers of the Kursk and all the 71 children left behind. And in that sense, we had to combine things, and that's the nature of drama. And when you do stuff like that, you deviate from reality.
I'm just pretending, I'm just faking something. But I have somebody there to remind me that this happened to somebody.
It's also been a long, thorough research for us. We've surrounded ourselves with as many experts as possible.
You have to make it real. So that was my obsession in a way. I wanted to make it real and truthful.
It's his story being told to me, and then I'm trying to own it and then tell it to someone else.
Brotherhood and togetherness and family boundaries represents the very spine of this movie.
What I think is extraordinary about a moment like this is that sailors want to rescue sailors. The humanity of people who understand each other is one of the things that interests me most about this story. I think it's very much what it's about.
When I received the script from Robert Rodat, I insisted on spending more time with this community before this boat explodes, because I wanted to get into the heart of it. I wanted to see this wedding unfold and all these people just living together.
It's a very complex reality to live with sailors that are away for 2, 3, 4 months, then come back. So every time a family is kind of torn apart temporarily, so you need a very strong family structure to be able to cope with that for so many years. And that is where the Leah's part comes in.
I think what she did to this movie was so generous. She 100% opened herself up to this. She was so devoted, and she gave the most vulnerable sides of herself. And that, I think, is why this character has ended up being quite heartbreaking.
It's always a subject that I really cherish when it's about motherhood, and for me it's one of the main subjects in the cinema. It's motherhood and love.
Having Lea Seydoux and Mathias Schoenaerts in front of me, to me, made sense. Mathias comes from a tradition of being spontaneous, wanting to be in the moment, wanting to embrace the moment. He's amazing on set. He's like this animal who arrives and carries everyone through.
He's extremely intelligent, smart, and he wasn't playing, you know. That's what I loved with him. He was just himself, and it was a pleasure to be with him.
Then obviously there's Colin Firth. He's kind of everything. He's always on time. He knows his lines. He's super humble, and he's even nervous about his performance. He's super engaged, and he's very, very, very good.
Thomas Vinterberg does come in and want to engage about what could be possible, even if it seems good. He's usually curious enough to explore an alternative way of doing it.
That's also what I like about Thomas. He's always looking for the nuance and for the humanity also within that reality. And that's what I like. That's why I think he's the right director to make this movie.
I loved it. I really loved working with Thomas because he's very smart first and very sensitive. So everything was here, you know. He had this empathy for what he was telling.
I think there is a grandness to the story. There's a huge submarine, there's a big disaster, there's some huge landscapes. So I wanted to combine these elements, the elements of grandness and believability.
I think Thomas does in a very interesting way is finding that balance between the macro reality of it and the micro reality of it. So you have a diplomatical, political reality to it, and at the same time you have the micro reality of these people being stuck in that very last compartment, which is hyper claustrophobic.
Every character of this movie is a real person. Whatever person in this movie, I can defend them, and I want to defend them. Also, if they make wrong decisions.
It's not good or bad, it's good and bad, and how those two blend together, and how sometimes you can't distinguish one from the other. It's when bad is good and good is bad, and everything in between, and that's what I think great cinema is about.
It's I guess, a kind of encouragement, more than it's based on anything historical. It's an encouragement to the next generations. Stand up for humanity.
That's a wrap.
I considered myself like a little boy coming into the shop trying to figure out how to do this. And I surrounded myself with the best people possible, and I learned how to do these things.
It's all a jigsaw puzzle. A combination of building a certain amount in the studio and then stealing images from the semi-redundant French Navy in Brest or somewhere in Normandy or in Toulon and a submarine museum somewhere else in the world. You know, we didn't know where we were going to go, but we had to piece all these things together, which is what my job's all about. It's also what design is in particular all about. As you know, a large percentage of the film takes place in a very restricted area in the submarine itself, and it's difficult to light logistically or naturally a space like a submarine where they lose electricity 70 meters below the surface because there's basically no light.
Working in water is a lot of trouble. It's a lot of hours, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of effort. And luckily, I was surrounded by fantastic people who could help me, who could come up with amazing ideas. Simple ideas, like you have to fill up a room with water, and instead we build a room and sink it into a pool.
All the exterior shots of the submarine are CGI built. We build sections. I've shot sections of it, which we then extend. So we build in the harbour before they leave. We build a section that's about 20 meters by 40 meters, and we have 2D or 3D sometimes sections, which we then shoot within, and then the guys extend it. That's normal. You try and shoot generically what you can real around the actors, and avoid green screens as much as you can. In my mind, it's best, and do as much in camera. But then you build up green screens and then extend the world. I wanted to supervise most of the underwater sequence because it's delicate and it's personal. I wanted to have a certain personal look, so it's best I did that myself. Visually, I knew it would be difficult. I knew it would be a challenge. I didn't know it was going to be physically as hard as it became. I didn't realise I was going to lose 7 kilos and come out in sweat rashes in these horrible macho costumes you have to wear. So we weaved that into our story as a small unit. We went over there and did it, and I had a second unit working parallel to me on some scenes. The explosions were done on separate sets that were carefully constructed for safety again, because there's fire and smoke and vapours and stuff like that. It's in the film, and it really does help.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, explosion! Go!
The spectacular long dive scene is interesting because I wanted most of the movie to be in long takes, because I thought time was essential, and you can feel time when you do long takes. And I narrowed it down to that one moment, of that very crucial moment of not having any air and having to swim this long underwater.
The underwater sequence was sensitive for me. I really loved the idea, and I loved the idea that we analysed and assessed how long an average human being can hold their breath underwater. And so Thomas and I sort of had this concept that we would hang on to a real time period that was credible and have these guys seamlessly, which is not new. I mean, you know, we create seamless films like Birdman. It's not a new technique, but we wanted it to seem like it was one long take, and we struggled to do it. I had an underwater cameraman, Vim, who's a wonderful, thin, light, agile gentleman who moved around the water like a fish, and he did really well. You have this incredible experience as well of understanding how sophisticated and extraordinary these underworld, these things are. And the actors, I'm sure, benefited from visiting that and understanding, my God, there's a 5-floor, you know, 3-star, maybe 2-star hotel underwater with nuclear bomb. Well.